Welcome to Gorilla Sports Off Court. I'm your host for today, Liv Moods, and in just a moment joined by Brandon Krisztal, and this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American's salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. So just head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome into another Gorilla Sports Off Court. I'm Liv Moods. That is Brandon Krisztal, aka BK, and we are going to be breaking down all things Game 3. Game 1 went to the Nuggets, although I felt like the Clippers should have won Game 1. And then Game 2, when I thought the Nuggets should have won Game 2, the Clippers won Game 2. So the series is now tied. And believe it or not, BK, I was looking through some of the odds yesterday. If you're a betting person, the Nuggets, I believe, are plus 185 to win the series. So they are now an underdog, if you will, to come out of this series, which when you're watching Kawhi Leonard play at such a high level, I'm not sure that really surprises me, although Nikola Jokic still exists. But I think there's a few things that we can break down in terms of Game 1, Game 2, some of the differences that we saw and what we predict for Game 3. But BK, how are you feeling at this point in time with the series tied and the Nuggets now on the road in Los Angeles?
Well, I think you have to feel pretty good about the Nuggets when you look at they've been a good road team, certainly in the playoffs in the last few years. They've won some big road games, two very big ones in Minnesota last year that they absolutely needed in games 3 and 4 after getting just walloped in games 1 and 2 here against the T-Wolves. And obviously they've swept the Lakers 2 years in a row, so they were really good in Los Angeles. You're now playing in a different building against a different team, and you're at least a little banged up with Michael Porter Jr.'s shoulder joint. I think his AC joint sprain. Jamal Murray getting better from dealing with an illness. David Adelman said yesterday that it hit a bunch of people. But when asked, is a bug going around? He's like, I don't know, but a bunch of people aren't feeling well. And then you also have to question, is Joker's elbow 100% right? Because he goes from no sleeve to kind of 2 sleeves in the second half. Not great from the free throw line. And so you're a little banged up, but everyone's kind of banged up. So
AG's calf
AG's
as well.
calf, clearly. And so you're going to be on the court and you're not going to be 100%, but no one's really 100% at this time of the year unless they've missed significant time and are just getting back and getting into it, which it looks like Kawhi Leonard.
I was going to say maybe that's the one I mean, besides the fact that Kawhi Leonard is an excellent basketball player, which we know, I think the difficult thing about it is we haven't seen Kawhi Leonard much this regular season. So he is in full health and strength in comparison to the other players that have been playing all season long. So you do have Nikola Jokic, who's been banged up quite a bit this season with his elbow, just dealing with that off and on. Aaron Gordon with a calf that's been lingering and nagging. Michael Porter Jr. has had a couple of moments himself, Jamal Murray as well. So it is difficult to go up against not just Kawhi Leonard because he himself is phenomenal, but also he's a little more rested. He's a little more healthy because we didn't see him play as much this season. So,
but he has played a lot of minutes now.
He is, and he's doing a really great job at it. He had a really great Game 2. Felt like in Game 1 they were struggling to slow down James Harden early, and he ultimately had a really great game through 4 quarters, although the Nuggets did find a couple of opportunities to slow him down. And then you got Kawhi Leonard big in Game 2. Do you predict, BK, that we're going to see another big performance from Kawhi Leonard, or will the Nuggets make a couple adjustments, make him uncomfortable like they had said post-game they wanted to do? Is that what you can anticipate from this Nuggets team, or will we still see big numbers and maybe hammer the over for Kawhi Leonard tonight?
Well, he had 22 in Game 1 and then 39 in Game 2. So he obviously wasn't silent in Game 1. Sort of like James Harden, who was pretty terrible shooting the ball early in Game 2, but hit a couple big threes. I think he had 8 or 10 straight points. Finished with 18. So not his average. Didn't hit the over on FanDuel or any of the other places you might bet it. And at the same time, you know that he could easily get you 30 on any given night. Same with Kawhi. I do think regardless of how much Michael Porter Jr. plays, and we don't know if it's going to be a little or a lot or not at all. I do think we will see just a little more Peyton Watson on him. Peyton wasn't on him very much. And Peyton is giving up a lot of size when you talk about just, I mean, Kawhi Leonard's built like an NFL tight end.
It's insane.
He and LeBron James are built differently, but his shoulders, he's even bigger. He and Russ are kind of built similarly.
Yeah, I
just
agree.
that Russ is 6'4" and a little leaner, but he's got just enormous shoulders and super long arms, super big hands. Peyton is as tall as Kawhi, but probably is giving up. We could look up the weight, but probably 50 pounds at least. Nonetheless, he's willing to just try to mix it up and make it hard for him. So the couple times he guarded him, Kawhi missed a tough shot and then made a tough shot.
Right.
But he wasn't on him a whole lot. I think you will see some Aaron Gordon on him, but you could play a lot of Peyton Watson on him. You could play a lot of Aaron Gordon on James Harden. What's interesting with Harden is that he's just so relentless. And for a guy that is so left-hand dominant, he's able to do whatever he wants going left almost the whole game. And he gets to the line better than anybody, not that he has in this series. So I do think they'll make adjustments. We'll see how much their physical limitations are health-wise or just bumps and bruises. But we've seen two very close games. And to your point about they got outplayed in game one and won it. The Nuggets outplayed the Clippers in a lot of ways in game two and lost. Same thing David Adelman said after game two and then said it again yesterday after watching the tape. And so that's what you're supposed to get in a 4-5 series.
Right.
Two close teams, same record, really good rosters, playing high-level basketball in close games.
Right. And that's honestly a really great point. And I kind of alluded to this maybe after game one, just because of how exciting that game was going into OT and the Nuggets ultimately coming back after being down by 15 at one point in that game.
Yeah, they were down exactly 51-36.
Yeah. So I think you have to feel, let's start with the positives, because we know Liv Moods can be quite the negative Nancy. That's not a surprise
nervous
to anybody. Yes. But let's talk the positives here. I do believe that the Denver Nuggets got outplayed in game one. They ultimately won that game. In game two, they only lost by 3, and it did feel like that was, relatively speaking, a poor performance by Nikola Jokic. He was doing uncharacteristic things in terms of turnovers, missing free throws. And sure, we've seen those things before, so they're not entirely uncharacteristic. But Nikola Jokic is the type of guy that when the ball is in his hands, you just believe that you've got a great shot to win. And he was making a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes that ended up being pretty costly for this Denver Nuggets team in game two. So I think you have to feel pretty good about the fact that despite playing what I would consider not great basketball in game one and winning, and then only losing by 3 in game two, having your best player, the best player in the world, not playing his best basketball, also has to make you feel pretty decent. That being said, just like the Nuggets are going to make adjustments and play better in certain ways, the Clippers will also do that. So game 3, BK, I think I predict a Nuggets dub. And I think game 3 is going to be one of those, like, who's gaining the momentum. It just feels like game 3 feels like one of those valuable games in this series where it could determine where the momentum swings and stays. You know, there's always that game in a series where you're just like, they might have just done it. And I know it's very early and we could see this go 6-7, but game 3 feels very important for the momentum considering how close these games have been.
And I don't want to overvalue the extra day's rest. And Christian Brown, when I even asked him about it yesterday, he's like, I don't like too much rest this time of the year.
Right.
But for the guys, because he's not banged up, but for the guys that are banged up or are under the weather,
they want it.
the extra day helps. And so we're going to get that going into game 3 and then again going into game 6, if necessary, which we certainly think is likely. Oh no, you won't. You're going to get Saturday to Tuesday. So you're going to get between games 4 and 5, but you're coming back home for 5. So you get that extra day in there, Sunday to just chill. And then Monday you're back in the gym. Although, as was pointed out by Peyton Watson, when I kind of asked him about that, he said that it's good to kind of recharge, refresh. At the same time, he's like, but everybody was in here yesterday. Maybe Jamal wasn't, or if he wasn't doing anything because he was probably just trying to get fluids. But I think that you'll have a shorter turnaround, obviously. Now, you don't have to get on a plane or anything. They probably won't do anything on a court on Friday anyway. But yeah, you've had the extra day. Go steal the momentum back. And what's funny is I asked Adelman about this, and I heard somebody else talking about it as well, that it's crazy to think that Joker makes wrong decisions, but he has been passing up a lot of open threes that we would expect him to take. Do you want to see him shoot 15 threes? Maybe not, but they're good shots. His percentage is as good as just about anyone in the league. And he went 4 for 8, which is 50%. He'll take 50%, but is he looking to get into the action, get more people involved when the team might just need him to make those threes? Now, it helps to have an active MPJ, even Peyton Watson, certainly Aaron Gordon in the game when he's taking those open threes. If it's him and 4 guards, basically, then maybe you don't take that as often. Although if Russ is in there, Russ is going to find a rebound too. I just think I'd like to see Joker shoot a few more threes.
Well, again, I say he had a bad game. And again, that feels like sort of
In a
disrespectful,
triple-double.
right? It feels a little disrespectful to be saying that Nikola Jokic had a bad game, but for him, for the level that we know he can play,
The 7 turnovers.
7 turnovers, that's costly. And losing the turnover battle makes it hard to win a game no matter who you are. But with Jokic being that guy for this team, facilitating so much, having the ball in his hands constantly, 7 turnovers, you can't afford to have 7 turnovers against the Clippers. So I say Jokic had a bad game in game 2. Relatively speaking, I'm aware of what his stat line looked like. For him, bad is still pretty stinking good. But when you've got a Clippers team playing at such a high level and you've got Kawhi Leonard, 30 plus points, James Harden doing what he needs to do and kind of having his way early in game 1, you really can't afford to have 7 turnovers. And the free throws. They missed quite a few free throws. And honestly, I was doing a little bit of math there.
They missed 8. Clippers missed 2.
And we got to the line nearly twice as much as the Clippers did in that game. That's the difference maker right there. You make 4 more of those free throws, you win the game.
You turn the ball over 2 or 3 times less. They had 20 turnovers. Those numbers flipped. It was 20 for the Clippers in game 1, and the Nuggets, I think, were closer to 11. Game 2, 11 for the Clippers, 20 for the Nuggets. How about this? And I don't know why I didn't realize it in real time. The Nuggets out-rebounded the Clippers by 19 in game 2.
Yeah.
That's owning the glass. And that's the type of stat. When we talk about stats that'll help you win games, that's usually one that's on there. Same with 3-point shooting, but free throw shooting forever in the history of basketball has always been a big indicator, often been a big indicator. And when you miss 8 and you lose by 3, cut that in half and you win by 1.
Well, I think I was looking at some of the statistics when I was doing the post-game show after game 2. The Nuggets had scored 1 more 3 than the Clippers in that game. I think their field goal percentage was pretty evenly matched. You had the Nuggets going to the line nearly twice as much as the Clippers. They out-rebounded the Clippers. So, again, it's really tough to swallow that the Nuggets didn't win game 2 when you look, and statistically, they played better basketball in a lot of different ways when comparing themselves to the Clippers. So that's where I feel like you can feel positive in this moment, watching this Nuggets team go on the road, knowing that they have had success on the road in the playoffs. It's not like some teams go on the road and they just completely fall apart. We know that that's not who this Denver Nuggets team is. So you look at both game 1 and game 2, one was a win, one was a loss, a very close one. And you look at all the different things that they did wrong that feel pretty fixable and don't feel like huge issues, and you have to feel pretty good. Again, it feels like this should be switched. I felt like the Clippers deserved to win game 1 and the Nuggets deserved to win game 2. But again, this is what you expect, to your point, out of a 4-5 matchup, that it's close, it's a battle, and it really is down to who makes less mistakes. That's how this series, I think, is going to feel for the most part. If the Nuggets lose the turnover battle, they'll likely lose the game. If they don't make free throws, free points, they'll likely lose the game, because it is going to come down to the wire for most of these games. And I think this series will go the distance. I think this is one of the most exciting and competitive series that we'll see in the playoffs in round 1. But it really is going to boil down to which team makes less mistakes. And I think that's who's going to win this series. So you want to see the Nuggets tighten up on those turnovers, make a few more free throws, and I think they'd be good for game 3 if they can get those things straightened out.
Yeah, it's gonna continue to take a team effort, but with Joker, and one of the comments that I saw from, do you think it's Miseria?
I've tried to pronounce that during post game.
Either way, about Joker and his minutes. You were right there, that this isn't sustainable, playing Joker 40 minutes. I get that, but this time of year, we just talked about the extra days off. There's no back-to-backs. Joker isn't a fly. I understand it takes energy to play a game, but he's not a guy he doesn't play the game the way Giannis does, or even the way LeBron does. And LeBron's actually one of the most efficient players now at age 40, understanding where to be. But Joker is in that same boat of understanding where to be on the court. And so then I go back to what I was saying. Yes, shooting a 3 can shorten the shot clock and take away your chance at an offensive rebound when you're taking your biggest player away from the rim. But it also is less energy to shoot a wide open 3 than it is to fake the 3, make a move, spin, the double's coming from somewhere, triple's coming, and figure all that out, get banged up.
He plays smarter, not harder sometimes.
Yeah,
so
and
those 40 minutes aren't as exhausting as I think they are for some.
And this isn't Adelman keeping him in. This is him saying, I want to stay in.
Well, and at this time of the year, BK, playoff time, when it's do or die back against the wall, you're going to see Donovan Mitchell's playing a lot of minutes. You're going to see Jalen Brunson's playing a lot of minutes. You're going to see LeBron and Luka playing a lot of minutes. That's
what superstars do.
Right. They're built for these moments.
And Joker always talks about that. We saw when he was asked about resting down the stretch, which he ended up kind of having to do because he was just a little banged up. But he's like, the difference between 32 and 38 minutes doesn't mean much to me. And I get that. I always talk about Lionel Messi's the same way.
Yeah.
If Lionel Messi's playing, does he want to come in as a sub for Argentina? He obviously starts for his club teams, certainly in Miami. But like, if he's playing, he wants to play.
Yep.
And Joker's the same way. That those extra 2 or 3 minutes on the bench, it was funny because last year, I think back to that Minnesota game when they're getting run out of the gym in Game 6, and he's standing up. And I asked him, and I said, some people are interpreting that like you were taking note of what was happening and you were going to file it away. He goes, no, I just didn't want my back to tighten up. Like once he's out there and loose, he would rather play.
Right.
And again, he's not flying up and down the court. Does he go fast? Sure. But if he plays 40 minutes for the entire run of the playoffs, especially if they can get through this round, and even
I agree.
I don't think it's going to hamper him the way other players might suffer some from playing extra minutes. Same with a guy like Russell Westbrook, even at age 36. The games he's had to play 30 or 32 minutes throughout the season, or even more than that, versus the games he plays 17. He looks the exact same, because he's the Energizer Bunny and plays like that. But other players may be affected. Aaron Gordon may be affected, and that's why you look, his minutes were a little down in Game 1, and he's dealing with the calf. So I don't have a problem with Joker playing 40 minutes, and clearly David Adelman doesn't either. Neither does Nikola Jokic, because he would take himself out if there was a need to.
Right. One of the comments up there, this says, this can be like Game 3 of the Miami series. And if I'm not mistaken, the Nuggets did win that one pretty convincingly in the year that they won the championship. And in Game 1 and 2, I think it felt pretty like, ooh, this could go either way. There were a lot of people feeling like, what are the Nuggets going to be able to do in this series against the Heat? And it felt like Game 3 was kind of their turning point, where they refined some of those mistakes. They started to button things up a little bit. They took all the good things from Game 1 and Game 2, and they applied them in Game 3 versus the Heat back in 2023. And that's where you really started to see like, oh, okay, there. And that's what I kind of mean when I say Game 3 to me feels like it's going to be very important for the Nuggets to kind of get Game 3, first game on the road, get the momentum, and kind of set the tone for the remainder of this series. Because what we've seen so far in Game 1 and 2 is a battle, back and forth battle, close games, neither team being blown out. And I think Game 3 is where you really want to see this Nuggets team refining the mistakes that they made in Game 1 and Game 2 and winning convincingly to kind of get that momentum and build their confidence that I think they've struggled with throughout the season, and rightfully so.
The other thing too about this Game 3 specifically, it's the first time that there's a playoff game in the Intuit Dome.
Yeah.
And so I asked both Peyton Watson and David Adelman about playing there, because the Clippers have always been second fiddle in LA by a big margin. Even when they were good in the Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Chris Paul era, certainly in this modern version with James Harden and Paul George, and I guess Russ a little bit, but certainly Kawhi at times, going back to even Kawhi in the bubble. They're much more interesting, but they've still always played in the Lakers building. I get that they open at the same time, and I don't think the Lakers even own it. Maybe they do. Maybe they split with the Kings. Maybe it was a 3-way split. I don't know but there's a Shaq statue outside, and a Kareem statue, and now a Kobe statue, and a Magic statue. There isn't a Bill Walton statue from his time as the San Diego Clippers or whatever that was. There isn't a Danny Manning statue because Danny got hurt, or Ron Harper because he got hurt. And there's maybe statues at some point at the new place for James or Kawhi or whoever the next superstars, but they just haven't had that. It's always been a Lakers town, but this building is as state-of-the-art as it gets. It's beautiful inside and out, but especially inside. Crazy lights, crazy video board, and very, very loud in general, but also loud by the bench, as David Adelman pointed out, that it's like a high school game because there's a bunch of fans that are right on you on the bench. Like they built it differently, where it's not all high dollar. I'm not saying those aren't expensive, but it's like they did that on purpose. Steve Ballmer, who was here the last couple of games, the richest owner in sports, they did not spare any expense, and they did not cut any corners. They want it to be a home court advantage. Now, they don't have the same level of fans that the Lakers do, but they still have 16 to 18,000 that'll pack it in there. And yes, there'll be some Nuggets fans. So if you can take this revitalized crowd, if you will, re-energized, they're juiced up in their own new building, because the Clippers fans are out there. We know they've been there for a long time, even if they're far fewer than the Lakers. So if you can steal Game 3, and not only steal Game 3, but create space and have a lead throughout the game, then you can take this newfound better crowd out of it. Now, they're not Denver's crowd, and we get that, but you can take their crowd completely out of it.
I agree. Yeah, I think there's a lot of, especially for the Nuggets specifically in their season that they've had and just the ups and downs that they've had. I think Game 3 is going to be a really valuable one in terms of their confidence and just getting them in the right headspace and just continuing to prove that they know who they are and they know what they're capable of. And I'm excited. I think BK, I guess let's really quickly go predictions then on, we were wrong about Game 2. We both wanted the Nuggets in that one and believed that they could and would do that. And honestly, down to the seconds, it felt like it was going to happen. It really did. But ultimately, they lost that one. How do you honestly see Game 3 shaking out?
Health does matter.
It does.
I think that Jamal being healthy is going to be a big deal. And if Jamal, when I say healthy, I mean just not ill.
Not sick.
Yeah, not sick.
Yeah.
But best we can tell, he's knock on wood, okay right now physically. What can you get from Aaron Gordon? How much is his calf bothering him?
Mm-hmm.
And what can MPJ provide you? Because the one thing that MPJ will give you beyond just the effort on the glass that we saw clearly amped up in Game 2, you take 15 and 15 from him every game, is he changes the way they space the offense and the way the Clippers have to play defense. And MPJ talked about that post game. He's like, look, I'm not going to get a lot of open looks because Kawhi's going to be on me. But the benefit of that is it opens everything else up.
Yep.
When Russ is out there and Kawhi's kind of sort of guarding Russ or even CB, or Peyton Watson, who you're not as worried about. Not that Peyton can't knock down an open three, but he's just not a prolific three-point shooter. And Michael Porter Jr. is one of the best shooters on the planet. A healthy Michael Porter Jr., even if it's only 25-ish minutes and not 32 minutes, still keeps their defense honest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that if MPJ plays, you're going to have to take and make threes across the board. That goes without saying. You can't turn the ball over. But now 2 games in, you got to think Joker is going to be aware of where all the help's coming from. Make sure that Christian Brown and Russ aren't staying next to each other because that made it easy for Kawhi to guard both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Stay spaced. But I like their chances to go in. You know, we were right about Game 1. I guess we were wrong about Game 2 in terms of the result. But I think they can go back and steal home court advantage. I'm not sure they win both games in LA. This feels like it's going to be a 6 or 7 game series.
I agree.
I'm ready to go to LA next Thursday.
I truly think Nuggets in 6 is still how I feel. I just think I don't know. I'm not trying to be a homer and I'm not trying to be biased and naive, but I feel like the Nuggets have not played their best ball in Game 1 or Game 2, and Game 2 was really close, and Game 1 they won in overtime.
We also haven't seen Jamal Murray.
With what I've seen.
We haven't seen Jamal Murray heroics yet. I'm not saying you need that.
No,
Jamal's made some big plays,
right,
especially in the fourth quarter of Game 1, but he's certainly, we know, and against the Clippers, Jamal can go for 40, and maybe even 50. And so we haven't seen that yet, and maybe tonight we see that. They have no problem.
We also haven't seen a whole lot from Christian Brown either. And that's
we
someone,
saw a comment to that.
That's someone that you get him fired up and you get him hot, and that's another element that really makes this Nuggets team dangerous. So again, that's kind of my point where you haven't seen. First of all, you're never going to get perfect basketball.
Was that Game 3 of the finals where he went nuts in Miami? Was that Game 3? Game 3 or Game 4, because it went 2-2, 1-1-1.
I think it was Game 3.
It was game. It feels like it was one of those 2 first games in Miami.
See? Maybe it's a CB night.
And so I guess I only played 2 games in Miami. But he has no problem going on the road. And playing in a hostile environment. And so I think that CB could be counted on not only defensively, but get out with those transition dunks and really, bring it back and bring the house down, silence the crowd. Because he had a couple breakaways in Game 1, but they were such easy breakaways that it was kind of an easy dunk.
Right. Well, so I think here's what you hope for in Game 3, because I do think it's a super valuable one for this Nuggets team to steal the first game on the road. You want a bigger night from CB offensively. I have liked what he has done defensively in terms of putting some pressure on this Clippers team and their high-level offense. But you want to see more from Christian Brown offensively. I think you want to see a few more Nikola Jokic threes falling. And you want to see the heroics of Jamal Murray. We have yet to see that just yet. That's not to say that he hasn't been present in this series and he's not playing great basketball, but you haven't seen his heroics, those late game clutch threes that just completely gain the momentum for the Denver Nuggets, because this is a team that feeds off of energy. They really do. And I think Jamal Murray is so good at that, especially in playoff games. So those are the three things that I don't think we've seen a ton of just yet, that we know they still have in their back pocket. They're capable of igniting a Christian Brown, especially in transition, get some of those dunks in there to get the energy up. Jokic has been hesitating on some of the threes that you know will likely fall, so you want to see more of that from him, and then you want to see the superhero in Jamal Murray that's saving the day late in the game. So you get that combination, a little bit of each of those things in game 3, and I feel pretty confident about what the Denver Nuggets can do. BK, so we're going to go, BK and I are both going Denver Nuggets in this one, for the sake of my sanity, and also because I do think they can do it.
Yeah, I was looking around the rest of the league too, because we're on.
I was going to say, let's talk about the rest of the league.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen, because I'm just also very locked in on the draft, and we should remind everybody we've got an extravaganza tonight starting at 6 that Liv and I will be a part of throughout. She's going to take a little break, get dialed in on the Nuggets, but we got first round watch along with me and you and Shelby Harris and Jesse Montano, and Chris Harris is going to join us, and Nate Jackson, of course, and maybe some other special guests that are certainly of note right into our Nuggets coverage.
Yep.
And so I've been locked in on the draft. I knew Jimmy Butler got banged up last night because it screwed up one of my parlays. And it certainly screws up what the Warriors are trying to do. I just didn't watch any Warriors postgame because I was watching the Avs game, and then when they lost,
it screws up my prediction that they could go to the Western Conference Finals.
Sure. When they lost, I was like, I'm done, and I went to bed. And I think plenty of people were just like
Probably,
that. But I didn't see what the follow-up was on Jimmy Butler, and then I just saw Steve Kerr said, if Jimmy's out, that we have to rethink everything. You still have Steph Curry, the best shooter to ever live. You still have your Draymond Green, one of the certainly better glue guys, better winners in the modern NBA era. A defensive player of the year. And then okay pieces around him, but Jimmy was the difference, especially in a post-Klay Thompson world.
What did he injure?
I know he got pushed by Amen Thompson. And then
you'd hate to see Jimmy go out.
Let's see I don't even know. Was it a leg? I think it was a leg.
While we wait for him to figure out exactly what that injury looks like, another reminder outside of our coverage for tonight, another reminder is to call Accurate America before the storm. Call before the storm. You never know when the hail is going to hit, when the summer storms hit and your roof is damaged. The last thing you want to be doing is battling your neighbors for an appointment or being left with no other option than relying on one of those storm chasing roofers that comes to town. So make your call before the storm. Call Accurate America at 303-900-ROOF. They'll partner with you on navigating your insurance. They'll provide quick professional and knowledgeable service using the latest technology and 3D modeling. Their work is guaranteed so long as you own your home. Do not scramble at the last minute. Call Accurate America at 303-900-ROOF before the storm. Accurate America, experts in roofing and exteriors. Okay.
Butler hurt tailbone, pelvic.
Oh, ouch.
Fell, slammed.
BTW, have you ever hurt your tailbone?
I think I've bruised it, but not badly.
I fell in the shower when I was back in college, and I chipped part of my tailbone off. I am telling you, you guys, I think it was 2 years nearly where when I would sit, it hurt. I had to sit on a donut. Yep, I had to sit with those donuts. It was like I could walk, I could dance, I could do all that. Yes, it was uncomfortable, but you just find a way at that point. You just get used to it. It's like lower back pain. You're like, my back's always going to hurt. It is what it is. So it was one of those injuries that you were able to work through, but the moment you had to sit and then stand or lay and then stand, oh my gosh, I would not wish it on my worst enemy. Tailbone pain is just, and it's kind of like the calf where it just nags. It lingers. It's like you always are in pain when you sit down. It literally felt like for 2 years it was painful.
So I think it's all the way through, but pelvic bone as part of his tail, so all of that. They're saying,
that's horrible.
Just doing a little quick research. It's not worse than when Steph did it a while back. Steve Kerr also said that Jimmy said he's fine. And we know Jimmy can play through stuff when he wants to. And it was funny because one tweet said he's flying back to San Fran to get an MRI. Well, the whole team was flying back to San Fran. They played 2 games. I don't think he ran. Right. He didn't run to a private jet. I think he just waited for the team to get done because he wasn't going to get into a doctor last night before the team would have gotten him there this morning. But so we'll see if he can go. And if they're doing it the same way, is that game? They've already spaced out the games. So Game 3 will be probably tomorrow, huh? They're not going to push that all the way to Saturday. Although they are weird with some of these. With how they're. That game is Saturday. Game 3 Saturday.
This is a little unrelated, but I just got the notification. So Gilbert Arenas, his son
Elijah
was in a very serious car accident and is now in a medically induced coma. I just got a notification. Shams just reported it. So sending my deepest condolences and prayers to that family. Sorry, I just got the notification and felt like I needed to say something, but that is very, very, very scary. Okay, BK, around the league before we get out of here, what are some other, we saw Knicks Pistons is now tied. Right? That's tied 1-1.
Watch that game right as it led into the Nuggets.
Yep. So
Detroit's
we'll have that
won
game
7
tonight.
of those 8 quarters. Like Detroit's outplayed them a bunch. So
that's going to be an interesting one.
It feels like Tom Tibbs. If they get bounced early, the players may win this revolt. Not that they're revolting against him, but he's the opposite of a player's coach. He runs his guys into the ground. Yes, he's a great defensive coach, and he's won a lot of games. Won games in Minnesota. Got sided with Jimmy Butler there, though, but won games in Minnesota, certainly won games in Chicago, and has now won games in New York and has made the teams better. But in the modern NBA, I'm not sure his style still works. So I think the Knicks still win that series, but Cade Cunningham reminded everybody why he was the number 1 pick.
Absolutely. And then the other one that really, sorry, but there is no appeal or intrigue to me about this Grizzlies Thunder series. It's just looking like there is no hope at all.
But both of them will have played game 4 Saturday, as the other 2 series that are on that same day are playing game 3 because the NBA is weird. So
that feels a little weird.
Just the way they're doing it. Yeah. I just looked. They're game 4, which should probably be a sweep by then, we would think. They may be just chilling until.
Yeah, that feels like they're getting an edge.
If the Nuggets are Clippers winning 5 or winning 6 in a world where they sweep Saturday, then they'll probably start round 2 next Saturday, and then it'll go like Saturday, Tuesday to get kind of caught up.
Right.
Thursday, Sunday,
right.
But there's no reason I think the Grizzlies are going to win a single game.
It's not trending that way.
It's incumbent on the Nuggets to try to get, or the Clippers, but we're obviously hoping to see the Nuggets win, to try to figure out a way to win this in 5.
Yeah.
The Clippers are shutting it down Saturday and just getting the extra rest.
Because OKC's going to have a huge rest advantage.
Or at least get to 6, because if not, then you're playing game 7 Saturday, and game 1 of that series will be in OKC on Monday. You can almost guarantee that. And so they will have rested for 9 days, potentially, or 8 days. And that is a big rest advantage. Sometimes you do that rest versus rust thing. The Nuggets need rest as much as anyone, just because of their bumps and bruises.
Right. I was going to say they're banged up. So
and so if they can figure out a way to steal both these games in LA, take care of business Tuesday, then they can just chill till likely Saturday, I bet.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not super intrigued. There's nothing really intriguing to me about the Thunder Grizzlies series, but I think the one that's the most intriguing to me outside of Clippers Nuggets is Lakers Grizzlies. And we've seen now the series is tied.
Lakers 2 Wolves.
Sorry. Lakers Wolves. Wolves and Grizzlies are kind of similar animals to me in my brain. Both I would never want to be in the same room as. No. So, I just lump them together. But yes, Lakers Timberwolves now tied. Based on watching those games, BK, which way are you leaning on who's coming out on top in that one? It feels very disrespectful to fade LeBron and Luka. I get it, but there's something about the Timberwolves that is sneaky, scary, and good.
Now, the Timberwolves shot crazy good from behind the 3-point line in game 1, and they were a little more realistic in game 2.
Yeah.
In order for them to win the series, though, Anthony Edwards is going to have to do more every game. Yeah. You can't pick and choose, or at least 3 more times. And I think he's capable of that, but it feels like LeBron and Luka will just continue to figure it out with their cast around him, and Austin Reeves will continue to do that. So I think it'll take 6 or 7, but I think the Lakers are going to win that series.
Okay.
And we've seen Minnesota have no problem losing games at home in the playoffs, certainly to the Nuggets last year a couple times.
True.
And the Lakers, who originally started in Minnesota a million years ago, I'm not saying that they have a huge fan base. They're from the Minneapolis Lakers days, because most of those people have probably since passed away. But in a world where after KG, until Anthony Edwards got there, really, they haven't had any stars, there's probably going to be a ridiculous number of Lakers fans that are just there.
Yeah.
And
it'll be interesting
compared to what you would think, because it's just one of those teams. And
it'll be interesting to see if you do get a little bit more of a comfortable looking Timberwolves team when they go back home.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we know history has shown that they're not perfect at home, and
You
they
should
can
always shoot
certainly
better
lose,
at home.
but you do anticipate that they will shoot better at home, and they've got 2 of those now that they can count on, and they get 2 of those wins, and it's a very different situation here
100%.
for the Lakers. So either way, lots of basketball at play and lots of exciting things to talk about. And like BK mentioned, we will be live tonight to cover the NFL draft. And then I will get out of here and I will drive home so that I can get home and I can watch the Nuggets game and I can do some live tweeting for you guys. And then hopefully the people here in the studio will toss to me at halftime for a little halftime update for the Denver Nuggets. And then, of course, you can count on a post-game live reaction show where we will break down all things Denver Nuggets, and hopefully I will have a smile on my face and not a glass of wine in my hand. If I'm drinking wine, you already know how the game ended. You don't even need to check the score. Just know Liv is in her feels.
What if you're
that's where we're
doing
at.
champagne or Prosecco? Is that celebratory?
I don't know. Champagne sometimes makes me ill. Yeah, well, I should, but I can't usually stop after just one glass of champagne.
Okay.
I don't really feel like getting like super turned up on my live show tonight on Thursday. So we'll save that. We'll save the champagne for when the Nuggets win this series, which is hopefully on the horizon for them. But nonetheless, we'll have you covered tonight, all things NFL draft as well as Denver Nuggets coverage starting at 6 p.m. Mountain Time right here in the studio. Make sure you're following Guerrilla Sports on all things socials as well as subscribing to our YouTube. That is where you can find this live show that will probably run for about 6 to 7 hours, I would imagine, because we will go through to that post-game show for the Denver Nuggets. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Also, our merch is live on our website. You can check out our Guerrilla Sports merch as well as merch for each team that we cover, the Avs, the Rockies, the Nuggets, and the Broncos. So check it all out. It might be a good time to get a Broncos shirt because of the draft tonight, and hopefully the Nuggets will continue to do their thing. I know the Avs had a loss last night, but there's still hope, and we're super excited to be covering all things playoffs for basketball, hockey, as well as covering the NFL draft tonight. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you tonight starting at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. I'm Liv Moods. That's BK. And this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. And we will see you later this evening.